Life Stories.
So it's great to have you with us tonight. Please encourage your friends to watch this story that you're going to hear tonight. A wonderful story, a testimony of someone's life that was changed. And if you have any needs tonight, you need prayer, you need help, please contact us on our hotline. You can see the number on the screen. It is 07943 550 or if you're outside the country, it's +44 794 355 You can also contact us on our website, which is LifeStoriesWorldwide.com. And there you can find out all about the work that we're doing through Life Stories. But tonight, we want you to enjoy a wonderful story. Tonight is a friend I've known for a number of years, not seen him recently, but tonight, Viv is going to share his story. Viv Penfold. Viv, in a way, had everything that he wanted in a way in life. Everything was going smooth for him. He had a job as a teacher, and he had a second job as a nightclub singer. But there was something always missing in his life. And tonight he's going to share with you what happened, how that emptiness was filled. And so I'm going to hand over now to Viv.
Good evening, everybody. It's a privilege to be with you tonight and to be able to share what God has done in my life. I didn't become a Christian until I was aged 34. And so I spent quite a lot of my time not walking with God and not even knowing whether there was a God or not to walk with. But I want to go right back to the beginning. My name is Viv Penfold. Viv is short for Vivian, and you'll find that significant in a way because it all adds to the overall picture of one's life. I was born in St Albans in Hertfordshire, born in a home in an upstairs bedroom, and born into a family, a loving family, but not acknowledging God in any way, and certainly never darkening the doors of any church. And I want to really talk because I think my life story is really one of giving a testimony, not just to me, about me, but about the God that we've come to know. And I want to talk about the sovereignty and the faithfulness of God, because even before I even knew him, God knew me, and he was in control of my life. And I've only just learned that really over the past few years when I've looked back and I've seen God's hand at work, even though I didn't know it was. So anyway, right at the very beginning, my life was spared. The story goes, of course, I don't remember it because I was only a couple of months old. But the story goes that my grandma was staying with us in St Albans, and she just had this tremendous sense, or almost like a premonition, to come up and check me in my crib. And when she went into the bedroom where I was not breathing. I was completely blue. And if she hadn't have come at that time, then I certainly wouldn't be sharing this story tonight. But anyway, she managed to get hold of me and started with the laying on of hands, got me breathing again, and so I think God, when I look at it, I think God was faithful and sovereign in all of that. And by the time I was 3 years of age, I'd already been in hospital with pneumonia and pleurisy and nearly died there. And yet came through and survived that. So I come from a family, as I say, my mother's family. She was one of 11, and she had 9 brothers. My grandfather, who I actually never met, he died before I was born. But my grandfather was a professional footballer with Watford Football Club. And he was one of when it first went professional, he was one of those players. And 3 of his 9 sons also played for Watford and on either professional or amateur forms. and another couple of my uncles were professional footballers as well. So you can imagine I was desperate to be a professional footballer myself. And so there were two things while I was at school that I loved to do. One was I loved to sing. And the second thing is I love to play football. In fact, that's about all I enjoyed in life. And anyway, so at the age of 11, when I had all the dreams and aspirations in the world, a crisis hit me as an 11-year-old boy. And I was being disobedient to my parents and going out with a catapult, and we were having a fight. And we couldn't hit anything with this catapult, but somebody managed to hit me in the eye, and I lost the sight of that eye. And I thought back about it, and I thought, I lost an eye, and it was a kind of terrible thing for me as a budding sports player, when you lose an eye. But God showed me, even today, he said, you know what, if that stone had gone anywhere else, it might have been even worse. So, anyway, that's just a thought that crossed my mind anyway. And anyway, because I love playing football and I loved singing, that's what I did with my time. And even at school, I was very rarely in lessons. I was either practicing with the choir or doing a latest solo, or I was out playing football for the school or the town, the district or the county, and so on and so forth. And so when I took my 11 plus, which was at the end of the primary school age, I failed miserably. So now here I am. I've got all my friends are going to the grammar school, which I'm not going to go to. I've only got the use of one eye. My name's Vivian, that no boys ever had in those days. I mean, I didn't even know there was anybody else in the world with that name that wasn't female. I didn't know anything about Sir Viv Richards, the Antiguan Test cricket batsman. I didn't know about Viv Anderson, who was a Nottingham Forest and England fullback. And there's some others that I could run past you, but I'm not as famous as any of those. But
Life Stories.
But so I had this kind of, it was a difficulty. And the thing was, my mother, who gave me the name Vivian, didn't even give me a second name, because sometimes people use their second name rather than their first name. So she could have given me something like Ian as a middle name, then I could have been VIP. But actually, I'm not a VIP, and I've never been a VIP, and I will never be a VIP except in the eyes of Jesus. But so because I failed my 11 plus, my father, rather than send me to the local secondary school, which was it was a good school because they said it was approved. But anyway, rather than send me there, which didn't have a very good reputation, he decided to send me to a local Roman Catholic school. So at the age of 11, I go to this Roman Catholic school, and my dad had to pay a certain amount of money. We got a kind of scholarship, but he had to pay some money and towards it. So here I am. I'm 11 years of age. My name's Vivian. I've got one eye, and I'm a little Cockney lad going to a school where everybody spoke with a very posh accent, and they all had a lot of money. So I didn't actually feel. I just felt like I wasn't good enough, really, and so it was a kind of difficult time. In fact, we have a saying in English that if somebody's kind of got a difficult disposition, they're resentful and angry, we say they've got a chip on their shoulder. And my father used to say I was the most balanced person he knew because I had a chip on both shoulders. And that was life. And it was kind of difficult. It was kind of difficult, I guess. So I moved on in adolescence, and I began to sing in a rock band, and so on and so forth. And I can say that was during the 60s, where everything was kind of about drugs and free love and stuff like that. And for some reason, and it's nothing to do with me, I think God just closed my eyes. I never ever encountered any of that, and even though I was moving in those kinds of circles. So anyway, in the end, I grew up. I left school and I went to work, and I hated it. I didn't get many O levels or anything like that. I just scraped together 5 O levels, and I thought to myself, what's life all about? I mean, I didn't think I had anything to offer. I wasn't going to get a good job. Would I ever be able to afford to get married? Would I ever have a house? What on earth was life all about? And then I decided when I was about 20 years of age, I hated going to work. I lived for the weekends where I could just play football, perhaps 3 matches in one weekend. And then Monday came around again, and I thought, what do I like to do? I like playing football. Maybe I can't play professionally because I'm handicapped, but maybe I could go to college, because those that can do it, those that can't teach it, and those who can't teach it teach teachers. So that's what we used to say. So I decided, I thought to myself, I'm 20 years of age. I've got 45 years to go of going to work, getting up in the morning, going through the same, getting my breakfast, going to work, coming back, having my tea, then maybe going out for a couple of pints or something like that. And then tomorrow it'll be the same. And the day after it'll be the same. And until I get to the weekend, and until I live for weekends. And I thought, well, do you know what? If I can't play football professionally, maybe I can teach it. So I decided to apply to go to a teacher training college, and somehow I blagged my way into it, and I was accepted to go to teacher training college. Well, it was an interesting time, and my thinking behind it was, I've got 45 years to go before I can retire. If I go to college for 3 years and play football for 3 years, then when I come out of college, I'll only have 42 years to do. And that was my thinking. That was the sum total of what I was thinking about life. Now, I did forget to say that when I went to the Roman Catholic school, I did learn a bit about God. In fact, the school was St. Columba's College in St. Albans, and it was run by the Brothers of the Sacred Heart of America. So they were kind of a religious order, if you will. And when I went there, I learned about we did what was called the catechism, where you learn about things about the Pope and about God and about the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church. And that was my first encounter, I suppose, with God. And I remember going home early on in my career at school and saying to my dad that, you know, he probably needed to consider God. And I kind of preached at him, and I said to my dad, I think I want to become a brother, one of the brothers. And so he got really upset and marched me into the headmaster. And between them, they managed to tell me, don't be silly. You know, if you want to go to church, go to your own church, go to the Anglican church, which of course I didn't want to do, because I knew that the vicar there was actually gay, and in those days that you know, that wasn't something that you know, a lot of people found acceptable. So anyway, I went to college, and I started, you know, doing the college work, and I ended up and I met a girl there, and we got married, and in fact we got married before we finished the course. We had a year's marriage, doing a Bachelor of Education degree, and then I got a job up in Ulverston in Cumbria, and Jean managed to get a job teaching French in Barrow-in-Furness, and so we moved up there, and we started a family. We had 2 daughters, and life was pretty good, actually, I suppose, because we started, you know, at reasonable salaries, and we could purchase something for the house, and we were buying our own house, and we could get something every month. And I was playing football, and I was training in the midweek, and then I joined the golf club, and then we bought a new car, then we had holidays abroad, and, you know, and it was going pretty well. But, you know, somehow or another, it didn't quite, there was never enough. The car was never quite new enough or big enough. And my wife was left at home while I was out working, singing in nightclubs to earn even more money, to get more things. And she had the 2 girls, and she was very, very lonely. And one day she decided to take these our girls to the local Anglican church, and she would have to go as well. She wanted them to go to Sunday school, like she'd done as a girl, as a child, and she wanted them to go, and she didn't feel she could just send them to Sunday school without attending herself. Anyway, it turns out that there was a women's Bible study group that was announced while she was there. And the funny thing was that she, even though she wasn't a Christian, she had done divinity as her second subject at teacher training college. Her first subject was French. And so she went along because there was a creche there. And then she wouldn't be so lonely, just left on her own, because I was out the whole time. And so she started to go. And one day she said to me, the girls are in a little play at church this Sunday, and I think you ought to come. So I said, well, yeah, fair enough, I'll come. Anyway, we went to church. It was the local Anglican church, and there was this little play, and my girls were in it for about 1.5 seconds. And I thought it was a con to get me into church, and they weren't there. So to be honest, I was really bored with it.
Life Stories.
And so I just looked around, and I saw a book there, and I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was a Good News Bible. And for want of something else to do, I started flipping through it, and I was reading in Genesis, you know, about the about the creation of mankind, Adam and Eve, and all that kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, you know what? When I was at school, the Bible that they used, mostly it was in Latin. You know, all the services and everything. I can even remember, because I used to, recite the prayers. And every classroom had a crucifix on the wall, and with a figure of Jesus hanging on the cross. And, it was just, that's what it was. And anyway, so I read this Good News Bible, and I thought, you know what? This is in proper English. This isn't sort of old English. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's like watching Gone with the Wind, or reading War and Peace by Tolstoy. It's a classic. And this book is a classic. And you ought to read it like the complete works of Shakespeare. Even if you can't understand it, you should be able to say to somebody that I've read it. And I went into the local Bible bookstore, and I bought a copy of a Good News version of the Bible, and I took it home and I put it on the bookshelf. Anyway, after about 6 months, I said to my wife, I think we should sell up and get a bigger house, because that's what I thought would make me happy, getting something bigger, newer, fancier, and so on and so forth. So I said, let's move. And she said, I don't want to move. I like it here. I like the neighbours. If you want a bigger house, build an extension. So I decided, I said, well, okay, I'll need to find an architect. So she said, well, this woman at my Bible book study class, her husband is an architect, and his office is at the back of that Bible bookstore that you. So I went and I visited him, and his name was George Kaczynski. He was a Polish extraction, although he was English. He was an architect, and I went in there, and he said to me, and I explained what I wanted. He said, I can do a few drawings and we'll see what we can come up with. So he said, well, how did you find me here in this Bible bookstore? I said, well, to be honest, I said, my wife knows your wife. They go to the same Bible study group. And so he said, oh, are you a Christian then? I said, oh, yes. I said, I'm English. So, because I thought, if you were English, you were probably Christian, So I said, yeah, I'm sure that's probably a God, So that makes me a Christian, right? So he said, well, actually, probably not. He said, but he didn't say that. But he said, so are you going to? Where do you go to church? So I said, well, I was feeling a bit uneasy by now, and I said, well, actually, I don't go to church. You don't have to go to church to be a Christian. You just have to be a nice guy, don't you? So he said, well, yeah. So then I thought, now I can say something to him. So I said, I went to a Roman Catholic school. So George said, well, as my name suggests, Kaczynski, I'm Polish, and my wife Claire, she's Irish, and we were both Catholics before we became Christians. So I said, well, I thought Catholics were Christians. He said, yes. He said, some are, but not all are. He said, you can go to church, but it doesn't make you a Christian any more than going to McDonald's makes you a hamburger. So I was a bit confused. So I could see I wasn't impressing him at all. So I said, actually, George, I've got a Bible. Oh, he said, so where are you reading at the moment? And I thought, oh, no. I said, well, actually, I'm a very busy guy, I haven't got round to reading. And all he said to me, he said, listen, he said, I'm going to do these drawings for you. Come back in a week and we'll talk about it. And in the meantime, if you do read the Bible, and if you have any questions, just, feel free to come and ask, you know where I am. And for some strange reason, I went home and I started reading the Bible. And I started in Genesis chapter 1, and I just kept reading and reading and reading. And I went back to the office, and I said, what did you come up with the drawings? He said, well, to be honest, I've taken them into the town hall, and the planners say it won't pass because it's going to impact on the terracing effect of the housing that you're in. So I said, oh, okay. I said, forget it. I'll buy a new house. How much do I owe you? And he said, well, it's all right. You don't owe me anything. And I thought, goodness. Anyway, so I felt duty bound to talk to him, really, because he was, you don't normally find that thing happening, And so I said, actually, I have started reading the Bible, and I had hundreds of questions, and he spoke, and I was really enjoying our conversations, and I was finding out things that I didn't know. And in the end, he said, Viv, why don't you and Jean come round to our home for a meal? And so we did. We went round on the Friday night, and we enjoyed it. And he said to me that his wife Claire had suffered with anorexia as a teenager, and she was told that she would never be able to have children. And yet when we went round there was these two lovely girls there. And I said to George, I said, oh, quietly, I said, oh, have you fostered or adopted? He said, no. He said, Jesus healed Claire, and they're ours. I said, oh, right, okay. I didn't know really what to make of it, but anyway, we had our meal, and it was a great time. And we went home, and I said to my wife, I said, Jean, I really enjoyed that. I don't know about you, but I'd like to invite them back to our house for a meal next Friday. And so I went into the office, and I said, George, I said, Jean wants to know if you'd like to come to our house next Friday for a meal. And I said, maybe it's too soon. And George said, oh, no. He said, we were praying this morning. The Lord told us to keep Friday free because we'd be invited out to dinner. I said, oh, right. I thought he was joking, to be honest. Anyway, they came round, and it was Friday, the 29th of September. 1983. And the reason I know that is because it was the day that was going to change my life. And we were talking, we had chili con carne, I remember it. We were in the lounge having coffee, and George looked at me and said, Viv, we can keep drinking coffee, we can keep talking, asking questions, we can do all sorts of things, but there's going to come a time when you're going to have to make a decision about what you're going to do with Jesus Christ. So I was put on the spot.
Life Stories.